Good morning everyone. Today we will be revising all the chapters that are going to come in periodic test 2, and beta your first you will have the objective exam. Yes, in objective exams and in subjective exams, in both the exams the chapters that will come are: first one is parts of speech, second is nouns, then third is nouns, number, gender and possession, then next is pronoun, next is article, then verb, and verb singular and plural. Your first chapter is parts of speech. There are 8 parts of speech, you know: noun, pronoun, verb, adverbs, adjectives, interjection, conjunctions. They are the different parts of speech, and you have already studied about the parts of speech, and today again I will be sharing a video in which, in short, all the parts of speech you will get to know. Okay, then beta, nouns. In nouns you have studied about different types of nouns like collective noun, abstract noun, different types of nouns. So you have to learn the collective nouns. Collective nouns आपको learn करना पड़ेगा. Okay, gang of thieves, bouquet of flowers. So collective nouns you will have to learn, and abstract nouns, common noun, proper noun, different types of nouns also you have to understand and study. Next is noun, number. Noun, according to number, nouns are divided into 2 parts, singular and plural. So that also you will have to learn. What is the plural of thief? Plural of thief is thieves. When we talk about one thing, then it is singular. If we talk about more than one thing, then it is plural. Okay. Then next is gender. There are different genders: masculine gender, feminine gender, neuter gender, common gender. Common gender is used, masculine gender is used for males, feminine gender is used for females. Then neuter gender is used for the things that don't have any gender, जो ना तो masculine होते हैं ना तो feminine होते हैं, वो क्या होते हैं? neuter. And then last comes which gender? Last comes common gender. Common gender में क्या होता है? जो दोनों होते हैं, like doctor can be a male also, doctor can be a female also. So what are the 4 types of gender? Masculine, feminine, common and neuter. Then possession. To show the possession for anything, which sign do we use? We use apostrophe s. और आपको हरदम ये याद रखना है कि अगर कोई प्लूरल वर्ड है जो s से एंड हो रहा है, तो भी आपको क्या करना है? तब आपको सिर्फ और सिर्फ एपोस्ट्रॉफी लगानी है. या कोई सिंगुलर वर्ड भी है और अगर वो s से एंड हो रहा है, तो आपको सिर्फ एपोस्ट्रॉफी लगाना है, तब आप एपोस्ट्रॉफी s नहीं लगाओगे. ओके. Then pronouns. The words that are used at the place of noun is known as pronoun. The word that is used at the place of noun is known as pronoun. You have studied about the different types of pronouns: demonstrative pronoun, possessive pronoun, emphatic pronoun, reflexive pronoun. So just revise them all. Okay, then go through the videos and you will learn, you will understand that. Okay, then articles. There are 3 types of articles: a, and the. So you have studied already that if we talk about one thing, then we either use a or we use an. We use a with the sound, with the words whose sound starts with consonant sound, and we use an with the words that start with vowel sound. Okay, then next is verb. Verb means action words. The words in which we do any action are the action words that show any action, like play, do, doing. They all are action words, so they are verbs. Now verb singular and plural. I have already told the verb, if it is in singular form, then it has s's with it. For example, sings. Sings is singular verb and sing is plural verb. So he sings. If we say he, then he is singular, तो उसके साथ आप क्या यूज़ करोगे? sings. बट अब अगर आप प्लूरल, आपका नाउन या प्रोनाउन प्लूरल है, तो आपका जो वर्ब होगा वो भी प्लूरल होगा, एंड वो वर्ब s से एंड नहीं होगा. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, they sing. Understood everyone? Now this is all about the language section. Yes, you will revise these chapters, and then beta last is paragraph. Paragraph you have to just write 10 lines on something, 5 lines on something that you can easily write. Okay. Now come to the next part. Next is literature. In literature, in English literature, you are having different chapters. First one is zoo manners. Zoo manners. Next is the will of the merchant. The will of the merchant. Then next is extra chapati. And the last one is the fox's wedding. Now see beta, first zoo manners. In zoo manners what you have to do, so what is there in zoo manners? In zoo manners it's told that when you go to the zoo, then what all things do you see and how should you react to them, what all animals do you meet, which animals do you meet and how are they feeling and how should you behave in the zoo. It is a poem. Okay, it is a poem. Now next is the will of the merchant. It is the story about a man who is about to die, and while dying he wrote a will. And what was written in the will, what happened after that? His son was there, he was studying outside. When he came back to home and he got to know about the will, what was his reaction, that all things you will study in this chapter. So this chapter also you have already studied. It is a story, so just read, complete and revise. Now extra chapati. In extra chapati there is a woman whose son lives somewhere outside, somewhere far away. So every day she makes one extra chapati and gives to a boy, a hunchback. So what happens? When his son comes back, when her son, one day her son comes back and she was very astonished. She did something very wrong and she took a lesson from it. So that all things you will read in extra chapati. And the last one is Fox's Wedding. It is a poem. In this, the wedding of the fox is going on and everyone is enjoying. So what happens there, that you will study in the Fox's Wedding. So all of you revise all these chapters, read them properly and prepare for your objective exam. In objective you will get a question और question के साथ आपको options मिलेंगे और आपको correct option tick करना होगा. Okay?
Zoo manners. Be careful what you say or do when you visit the animals at the zoo. Don't make fun of the camel's hump. He's very proud of his noble bump. Don't laugh too much at the chimpanzee. He thinks he's as wise as you or me. And the penguins strutting around the lake can understand remarks you make. Treat them as well as they do you, and you'll always be welcome at the zoo. The extra chapati. There was a woman in a remote village who baked chapatis for the members of her family and an extra one for a passerby. She kept the extra chapati on the windowsill. Every day a hunchback came and took away the chapati. He expressed his gratitude in some strange words. He used to mutter the following words as he went his way. The evil you do remains with you. The good you do comes back to you. This went on for days. Now, the woman felt irritated on hearing these words daily. Not a word of gratitude. I must do something to get rid of this hunchback. And what did she do in exasperation? She added poison to the extra chapati. But as she was about to keep the chapati on the window-sill as usual, her hands trembled. "What is this I am doing?" At once she threw the chapati into the fire, prepared another one, and kept it on the window-sill. The hunchback came, picked up the chapati, and muttered the words, "The evil you do remains with you. The good you do comes back to you." Saying this, the hunchback went on his way, ignorant of the turmoil within the woman's mind. Every day the woman, while placing the chapati on the window-sill, offered a prayer for her son, who had gone to a city to seek his fortune. She had no news of him for months. She prayed for his well-being. One evening, on opening the door to a knock, she was pleasantly surprised to find her son standing at the door. At the same time, she was shocked to see him in a miserable condition. He had grown thin, lean, and his clothes were tattered. He was looking hungry, starved, and weak. He cried on seeing his mother.
"Mom, it's a miracle. I'm here. I'm famished. I collapsed on my way back home. I would have died but for the timely help of a hunchback. I begged of him for a morsel of food, and he was kind enough to give me a whole chapati, saying, 'This is what I eat every day. Today you can eat it.'"
The mother knew for sure that it was the same hunchback, and turned pale. She clasped her son in her arms and remembered the poisoned chapati. Had she not thrown that chapati and replaced it with another one, her son would not have been alive. It was at that moment that the significance of the words dawned on her. The evil you do remains with you. The good you do comes back to you. Moral: do good, good will be done to you, or evil begets evil. The Fox's Wedding. The cloud is dropping its rain in the sun, for the fox's wedding has just begun. From forest and plain and mountain side, guests bring gifts for the fox and his bride. Here comes the first, a grinning hyena, who brings a charming bowl from China. Here comes the second, a lion bold, whose gift is a mirror of African gold. Here comes the third, a crocodile, whose gift is a silver cup from the Nile. Here comes the fourth, a long-necked camel, whose gift is a casket of Indian enamel. Here comes the fifth, a monkey who writes. His gift is a book, The Arabian Nights. Here comes the sixth, a she-wolf vain, who brings for the bride a scarf from Spain. Here comes the seventh, a polar bear, whose gift is a beautiful Russian chair. Here comes the eighth, to the fox's marriage, a horse who has brought him a five-wheeled carriage. Here comes the ninth, a jackal, who brings the bride and the bridegroom 2 diamond rings. Here comes the 10th, if you please, uninvited. The guests at the wedding are getting excited. He comes from somewhere and teaches zoology. What is his gift? An empty apology. But why has he come to the fox's feast? It is most ill-mannered, to say the least. The fox then addressed the guests who were present. Let us be friendly, let us be pleasant, let us be civil and not make a fuss, since man, after all, is a beast like us. The guests of a sudden ceased to complain. The clouds of a sudden forgot to rain. The sun came out, both gay and splendid. The fox's wedding was happily ended.
The Will of the Merchant. Once there lived a merchant in Egypt. The merchant was very wealthy. He had only one son whom he loved dearly. The son was a bright young man who liked to read good books and learn new things. At the age of 20, he was sent to Greece to study. While he was away, the merchant fell ill. The merchant knew that his end was near. He did not want to disturb his son in his studies. Moreover, he had very little time, and in any case, he would not be able to see his son. He was worried about his property and wealth. There was no one in the house except his servant. He was in a dilemma whether his servant would honestly look after his property for his son or not. But there was no other way. He thought for a while and then decided to make a will. In his will, he gave all his property to his servant and did not leave anything for his son. He included a clause at the bottom of the will which said,
"My son can take one thing from my property."
Whoever heard of the will was amazed. After a few days, the merchant passed away. The servant was now the owner of his master's property. He took great care of it. After a few days, Abdul, the merchant's son, came to know of his father's death. With a sad heart, he came back home. He was further shocked to see his father's will in which he had given all the property to the servant. Abdul knew very well how much his father loved him and was puzzled at his decision. He was sure that there must be some reason behind such a strange decision. He went to Bashir, a wise man and his father's friend. He showed the will to Bashir and said, "My father loved me very much. I was very close to him. Then why did he leave everything to the servant?" Bashir listened to him patiently and nodded. Abdul expressed his grief and said that now he would have to work for his father's servant. Bashir took the will from his hands, had a close look at it, and read it carefully.
Your father loved you dearly. He had thought wisely before making his will. Read the last line and you will come to know that he wanted you to be his heir.
Bashir said. Abdul replied,
I've read the will. The last line says that I can take one thing from my father's property.
As per the law of the land,
said Bashir,
the master has full right over the property of the servant. As your share of his property, you can ask for the servant. You shall then inherit all your father's property.
Abdul was overwhelmed at his father's wisdom and heaved a sigh of relief.
Now I know why my father made this will. He gave all his property to the servant so that he could not waste the money and look after it well. My father, I'm sure, wanted me to inherit his property.
Of course he did,
replied Bashir smilingly.